Indy 500, and today we get to talk to some amazing drivers and retired drivers and lots of other people. So let's see what kind of luck we have and go. So let's get into it. Woo!
It's time for another On the Spot. On the Spot.
Are there any cities around the world you think IndyCar should be racing in order to grow?
Really, any international city. I mean, the biggest problem that we have right now is it's really a U.S. championship. Obviously, you have a race in Toronto, but it would be great to be able to go back to Surfers Paradise in Australia.
I mean, I'd love to go back to Australia. I think Surfers Paradise was a fantastic event.
I think Australia would be cool to go back. Surfers Paradise was really fun.
Hopefully next year I can say Australia. That would be a fun one too.
I think it would be cool if they went back to Australia, to Surfers Paradise, which they raced back in 12, I think. Obviously, we have Will Power being from there, so they will have some home support as well.
Well, I think they definitely should race on the Gold Coast in Australia. And they're actually working on that.
I'd like to see us go back to Australia. I know they're talking about that for next year.
I think the series would like to go back to Australia as well.
Yeah, they've been speaking about Australia, going back there, and I think that would be great.
Everyone's been saying Australia. Do you think you know why?
I think it's a great country for motorsport, and I've been racing there in Formula One, and it's a lot of fun. So, and also IndyCar has good history from going there with Surfers Paradise and stuff like that. So
I think it'd be really cool if we get back to Australia, just because I think the experience for everyone would be great. It seemed like Surfers Paradise back in the day was really well attended, so I think that would be a nice one.
I think everyone probably just loved going there to the Surfers Paradise track because it's like it's a nice place, it's good weather, and probably some of the guys had a bit of a holiday as well.
They've got a huge fan base in Australia for IndyCars. Will Power is top driver, champion, so there's a big fan base in Australia for IndyCar.
In terms of racetracks around the world, there's so many great racetracks, historic racetracks. It'd be fun maybe someday to race in England, in one of the historic racetracks over there. Spa is another really cool racetrack. So maybe someday we'll see ourselves, or maybe it's racing at a street course that's just designed for IndyCar in some other country around the world.
I don't know. I'd love to see, Canada. I'd love to see us go back to Vancouver. I loved racing in Vancouver. It was such a cool track. I would like to see IndyCars go back to Vancouver, Canada. That was always a great race.
The Canadian fans are amazing, so as many Canadian tracks as possible as well.
But you know what? It's a very international field, so I think that they would do well in any of the countries that you have drivers from. Especially like right now, I think it's Sweden. You got 2 drivers.
I think we should race in Sweden since I'm Swedish, so Stockholm would be great.
You got a French driver, obviously, or 2 French drivers.
We could have IndyCars there. The track's beautiful, long enough, safety is great. It's called Circuit du Val de Vienne. And I tell you what, before I retire from IndyCar, I'd love for us to race there.
We need to be in Europe. That is really important because Europe's, really racing is very popular. We have a lot of European drivers, but we don't race there.
I'm from the UK. There's such a motorsport culture there. I think the fans and everybody would really get behind it.
Europeans are typically really big into racing. And so I think that you would get a really good following, immediately because of that. It's a great area that is a big market. There's a lot of people live there. There's a lot of sponsors, potential sponsors that are in there. If another, engine manufacturer comes in, Europe is a really big market for them as well.
Love to go back to India, Japan, of course. I think everybody's love it. So it would be nice to go back to Japan, yes.
Also, Japan is cool because we have like Honda. It's from Japan, and I think that would be very well supported. I know for a fact there's a lot of fans over there who would love IndyCar to come back to Motegi or other circuits in Japan.
I think we should go back to Japan because obviously Honda is a big part of our sport, has been forever. We should be there.
I know for our sponsor, Arrow, being a global technology company, it'd be great to have, fantastic to have a couple races in Asia.
It'd be great to be able to go to South America, to England, all races where IndyCar has been in the past. But transitions have caused us to really be U.S. based. So hopefully one day we can get back overseas and really broaden our fan base.
I think whatever country you have someone from and is doing well, the series would do well.
Mexico is important, but I just think like IndyCar needs to branch out a little bit more. fans around the world watch the sport, are intrigued by the sport, don't know what it's like to be able to walk in here to meet us, to get access to the cars, the drivers. So we need to find a way to get that message across to more people, for sure.
At the same time, IndyCar core fans are here. I think sweet spot is, 16, 17 quality races in the U.S. and 3 or 4 outside the U.S., but I wouldn't want to have any more than that.
There's a balance to be struck between going to international events, like Australia. We used to go to Brazil, Japan. They were all great races, and it would be lovely to go back and visit those guys. But I think it's important to have a strong presence in the U.S.
So around the world, we want to be on a very limited basis because we're primarily about the U.S. market. We want to be in other countries on a limited basis where there's a great following for us. So Australia, because of our prior race at Surfers Paradise, is a great example of that. There are a couple others. Our strategy is to only do that probably in February before we get to St. Pete. And once we're in St. Pete, probably stay in St. Pete through the rest of the championship. So it has to be a warm place because there really aren't very many places in the United States where we could run in February.
It was always fun to race in Miami at Homestead, and we had a downtown race there too. So that would be cool. But St. Pete obviously covers a good bit of Florida. I don't know. I mean, everybody wants to race in New York. That was always the big one. Formula E races in New York now in Brooklyn, but IndyCar, Formula One, NASCAR, everybody tried to have that presence in New York. It never happened. So something in that area would be nice.
Richmond for sure would be an awesome track. Other than that, I don't know. I mean, I'd love to see IndyCars race at Road Atlanta, but I don't know how that's going to work.
I'd love to see a race in Denver. I'd love to see a race, maybe the upper Midwest, Minneapolis or something like that. I think there are plenty of great cities here in the United States. I think you can grow the sport outside the country, but I think there's plenty of good weekends and plenty of good areas of this country we're not racing in yet that we could before we go internationally.
I mean, IndyCar is a very American series. I would like to see IndyCar focusing on the U.S. territory, and there are plenty of people that love open wheel here in U.S. without having to go and look around.
Are there any more of the older tracks you like the series to return to?
I believe that you can never relive the past, but IndyCar has been doing a pretty good job in going back to the places where, the history was made, like Laguna Seca.
Last year we went back to Portland, so that was a big box tick.
We had success going back to Road America, success going back to Mid-Ohio. So Cleveland has always been spectacular, had a great amount of fans. So I think Cleveland would be nice to try.
Cleveland was just a great race. I loved it.
Yeah, Cleveland I think would be great. It was a fun racetrack. Being on an airstrip with a lot of width, a lot of room for passing, everything. I thought it always, and being on the lake was good. So I think that would be a good one to go back to.
I would like to see, for sure, IndyCar racing on a few more short ovals. That was something really special. Maybe go back to Milwaukee. That would be awesome.
I'd love to see more ovals. I'd love to do some more short ovals. I think Richmond is a great racetrack, a lot of fun there. Phoenix was fun, and maybe we can actually get back there again. Milwaukee is another great racetrack with a lot of history.
I've always enjoyed the 1 mile tracks at Milwaukee and Phoenix and different places like that.
I'd love to go back to Kansas, Kentucky, Vegas. Honestly, I think Vegas would be. I know that's a rough history there, but I think that would be an awesome race for us.
Michigan was always one of my favorite tracks, the high banks of Michigan.
It'd be nice to have another big oval, but I'm not sure they're really suited to the cars. That's the unfortunate thing.
We're always conscious of having a great representation of oval tracks and oval events. There aren't very many of those around the world, so that's more likely to be something that happens in the United States.
So any of those that we could go back to would be a lot of fun.
I'm a fan of going wherever the fans are,
Well, that was an exciting 3 days. I got to interview all the drivers. Everyone was just so nice to me, and I can't believe I got to do this experience. I'll see you guys in the next one. Make sure you smash the subscribe button, like, and share. Bye!